Hello and welcome to the Ice Guys, brought to you by the Hockey Podcast Network. This is the show that takes you into the world of the National Hockey League. Every game, every day, from a sports betting perspective. With pro handicappers Alex B. Smith and veteran sports writer Jimmy Murphy. And now, here's your host, Ian Cameron.
Welcome to the Ice Guys, presented by the Hockey Podcast Network. Tuesday, November 16th, Ian Cameron, and thrilled to have Alex B. Smith back on the Ice Guys show. We've missed him, and we're happy to have him back here on this Tuesday edition of the show. Great day for him to rejoin the show. It is a big NHL card, lots of opportunities, and excited to break them down. First of all, Alex, let's just get some thoughts. How are things going with you back home?
Doing well. Like I said, well as things can go. Obviously, for those of you who may or may not know, but my father has fallen very ill and had to be taken to a hospice care facility. So I'm here helping out my mom here in Chicago. I'm here in my dad's old office where I've done shows in different seasons before. So I'll be here and I'll be doing shows sporadically for the next couple of weeks until things get stable out. Of course, with the holidays, running into everything as well. So, but I'll be here for a few shows. Especially couldn't miss today. It was how big of a card is today. So looking forward to that. Like I said, been following, obviously still following the games and still tracking along. So, we always talk about Thanksgiving being the kind of barometer of teams of whether you're going to be in the playoffs or miss the playoffs. With this being a full regular season, that's definitely going to be the case. I think it might be a little bit longer for some teams, but for the most part, we really kind of see the contenders and pretenders starting to split up in the last week or so.
No doubt. So it's definitely since you've been away the last week or so, we've seen some teams go on a terrific run, and we've seen some teams really fall on hard times. And that's what's going to happen in the course of an 82-game regular season. Of course, you can say that's what happens to NHL bettors, too. We have great runs, and then we can fall on hard times. And I know personally I was falling on hard times early in the season, but it's been a really good run the last week and a half for me, and it's been good to see. Hopefully people in the show have been able to cash in with certainly me picking it up lately in the NHL. Hopefully we can keep it rolling today. We've got a great card. Let's get into it. We'll start with the Montreal Canadiens and the New York Rangers. We've got the Rangers minus 190 home favorites in this game, 5.5 the total here across the board. The Canadiens just continue to spiral out of control. It's just been a rough go for the Canadiens as of the entire season, but back-to-back losses over the weekend against Detroit and Boston. Really both games that were winnable, that were there for the taking for the Canadiens, but they lose in overtime to Detroit 3-2. And then, of course, the 5-2 loss against the Bruins on Sunday, where the Canadiens actually had a lead at one point in that game. And then the third period, it was just a colossal fail for the Montreal Canadiens. Boston with the third period come back and they win 5-2 in that game. Rangers have put together 3 straight wins in a row. Very impressive fashion for them. So we'll see if they can keep it up here in this game. Rangers have gone over the total in 5 straight games. Very interesting. We remember early in the year, the offense just wasn't firing on all cylinders, and the defense was playing well. Well, that offense, you don't worry about it now. They have scored 6-4, 5-4 in the 5 games during this over streak for the New York Rangers. So I think for this game, if I were to lean one way or the other, you've got Caden Primo in net for the Montreal Canadiens. Of course, defense, goaltending has been an issue for them throughout the course of the year. It's not just that offensively, they've struggled to score goals at times. They've had a real difficult time keeping the puck out of their own net for the majority of the season. In fact, you look at Montreal's overall statistics on the defensive end of the ice, they are ranked 29th in the NHL, goals against, averaging 3.4 goals per game allowed. So it has been difficult for them to score or keep the puck out of their own net, and certainly at times they've been offensively challenged as well. And now you have Caden Primo in net, who's getting the call up here from the AHL. We'll see how he fares in this one. He's making his first start of this season, and he's been really good in the minors from all indications, solid at the very least. But now you're going to the NHL, where he's had some difficult time stepping up to this level, playing at a high level. So I don't know how he's going to fare here, and it's not like you're facing a team that's struggling to find offense right now. The New York Rangers are certainly doing that. So my bet here is going to be the team total for the Rangers, over 3.5. I don't know if I want to put myself in a position to trust Montreal offensively against Igor Shesterkin when their offense has not exactly been firing on all cylinders. This is a good prop game, I think, for me, for the Rangers. To look at Alexis Lafreniere is starting to find the back of the net, look out. There may be value with his goal scorer props right now. Certainly Capo Caco. He's a streaky scorer. He scored in the last game. Maybe you look at him. I mean, obviously, Zibanejad. Kreider's been on fire. We know that for the Rangers. But now you're starting to see Kako. You're starting to see Lafreniere step up offensively. And we know they're talented, skilled players. And you're going to get a better goal scorer prop price with guys like that. So I might look deeper down the board when it comes to goal scorer props and maybe look at guys like Kako, guys like Lafreniere that maybe they get on a little bit of a hot streak now that they're finally starting to light the lamp for the New York Rangers. So I'm going to look at a couple props there, Kako, Lafreniere, and I think I like that team total for sure. Rangers over 3.5. It's just Primo's got to prove it to me here in terms of making a start at the NHL level because he struggled in the previous stints he's had here in the National Hockey League. Alex, what do you think here? Rangers and Habs.
Yeah, it's interesting. You mentioned about how it's 5 straight overs for the New York Rangers, but also look at 8 of the last 12 games have gone over for Montreal. Like I said, they're having issues with defense, they're having issues with goaltending. Caden Primo coming up. You look at his other stints; he's been kind of up and down. I know his AHL, numbers. He's looked better in the AHL. Even his numbers there aren't exactly impressive, but his form has been more impressive in the AHL, which would allude to, is this now the time? Do you give him the shot to be the backup? Or are they shopping him potentially because teams are going to need goaltending help? And you kind of wonder what things, because obviously they're waiting for Carey Price to come back and be fully healthy. So we'll see how long this lasts, how long the shakeup kind of lasts for Montreal. But the only thing I would look at here, I grabbed Rangers regulation minus $1.10 early today. Within 5 minutes of me like actually making that bet, it went up to minus $1.30. I still kind of like that, but it's not as strong of a play. Obviously, a 20-cent move that far, but it makes sense because this is, like I said, better form right now with the Rangers. Even though they lost Sammy Blais for the rest of the year, that's a huge loss for them in my opinion, because not only just the offensive balance he adds to the bottom line, but he's just one of those gritty kind of in your face guys. He's a guy that's going to miss, I think, more in the second half of the season than they will right now. And so that's something to kind of keep, make a note of, and we'll see if the Rangers, how they fill that hole moving along forward. But there shouldn't be much of an issue here. Like I said, you played the team total over. That's probably the better option at this point, because you don't want to be laying 190, and even 130 in regulation can be tough, because let's say Montreal does have a good effort, and it, we see this with backup goalies and third string goalies all the time, where they know, all right, we have to clamp down and be a bit more responsible defensively. We don't want to hang this kid out to dry. So this could be one of those 2-2 or 3-3 kind of games. So I lean with the full game over. I would look toward Rangers team total over as well, but I'm on Rangers regulation. Like I said, I grabbed minus $1.10.
Yeah, it's really amazing that you can get Rangers team total over 3.5 plus 110 plus 115. Would you rather have that or minus 190? I know which one I'd
Right.
rather get from a price standpoint. And
Definitely.
you have to ask yourself too, Alex, if the Rangers win the game, is it pretty reasonable to expect them to at least get 4 goals? I think so.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
more than like, and yeah, like I said, I see them winning by 4 goals, 5 goals, than I do a 3-1 game. Like I said, because even okay, fine, if their offense takes the night off, but like I said, with how bad the defense has been for Montreal, and like I said, we're just assuming if Caden Primo plays an average or good game. If he has a bad game right off the bat, then yeah, we can see 3 goals, and then he gets pulled. Who knows what happens moving forward? So yeah, so yeah, you're much more comfortable with the team total over, especially the plus price.
yeah, exactly. The plus price is really it's really a great price, plus 115 in that range with that team total. Nashville, Toronto minus 200, home favorites 5.5 the total. In this game, the Leafs, of course, over the weekend, back-to-back victories for them against Calgary. That was the Hall of Fame game in Toronto on Friday night. And then give the Leafs credit, because sometimes in these spots they've slipped up in the past, but they played Buffalo the very next night. They did with Joseph Woll making his first start in the NHL, and they found a way to get the victory 5-4 in that game. And now they'll return home, and really it's been a great run for the Leafs, 8-1 in their last 9 games. However, the one loss in those last 9 games was a home game early in the week, last week, against the LA Kings. And man, this spot feels like the same spot tonight. Home early in the week. And I've been to Scotiabank Arena much earlier in my lifetime for these early week Leaf home games. That's a very dull, quiet crowd early in the week. I find maybe Saturday night they're a little bit louder for home games, not early in the week, and especially when it's not a marquee opponent, not a divisional opponent, not a rival, and you're playing outside the conference again in Nashville against Nashville here. This is a scary spot to me for the Leafs tonight. Are they playing great hockey right now? Absolutely. No question about that. But here's Nashville coming into this game 8-2 in their last 10 games, playing some solid hockey as well. Now, if you want to quibble, you can say some of these wins have been against teams that aren't very good. In fact, 3 of the last 4 wins, other than the St. Louis win, they beat Arizona, struggling. Dallas hasn't played well. Vancouver's not playing well. Those are the other wins for Nashville. So they haven't played anyone probably as good as Toronto in this stretch. But I've seen this Leaf team for so long now where I know when a spot is a danger spot for them. And this is a danger spot for them because I've seen them flat. The last time when they played the Kings last Monday and they lost, I remember Sheldon Keefe saying after the game, we didn't match their urgency. We just didn't have that. They were ready to play. We were not. And this feels like one of those games where after they beat Calgary, they beat Buffalo over the weekend. This is another one of those games where you worry about that urgency being there from the opening faceoff for this Toronto team. And if it isn't, Nashville has picked it up, especially offensively. Yossi's chipping in from the blue line. Matt Duchene is finally, playing like a top 6 forward that we want on our hockey team, not one that disappears. He's played well, Duchene. He scored 4 goals in the last 3 games, 9 goals and 7 assists this season. In fact, that's a goal scorer prop I might look at here tonight. Matty Duchene for the Nashville Predators. He's just feeling it right now. No question about it. You're going to have Saros in net likely for the Predators. So I would expect this game maybe to be low scoring too, because you'll definitely see Jack Campbell for the Leafs. And we talk about how brilliant he's been lately, especially at home. Very tough to beat him here, but for me, this is dog or pass. It's either you take Nashville, sprinkle some kind of bet on them, or you leave this game alone. It's just one of those spots. I've seen it too often for the Leafs over the years that they sometimes stumble and bumble in these kind of situations. Couple of big wins in a row, playing at home, playing outside the conference, and you don't always get their best game. Alex, what do you think here, Preds and Leafs?
I know, and I'm looking at some of the trends here, especially with obviously Nashville's a trending under team, but especially even with Toronto as of late, 12 of their last 18 games gone under the total. This feels like an over to me. And like you said, and it feels like that because you got Nashville playing in good form. Yeah, okay. We look at the fact that yes, they beat up on some bad teams and some struggling teams, but you can only play the teams you face. And if you're playing well, and for them to be getting 4 goals a night in the 2, 3, 4 contests in a row, so they're finally getting their offense rolling. He said this could be one of those spots where he said it's a danger for Toronto, so they can catch them sleeping, get a couple goals early. We know Toronto's got the offense to come from behind and push back. At 5.5 here, I think this is a good spot to go with the over. That's the only thing that stuck out with me here. Like I said, I don't want anything to do with obviously laying a big price with Toronto. Like I said, and you made a good point about how Scotiabank Arena is one of those places where in the middle of the week, and this is not a rivalry or just this is kind of a random opponent. I see this happen with Chicago and some other places all the time. People give away these tickets. It's not the season ticket holders that this is a good time to get the family out there, get the kids.
That's
it's not the same atmosphere.
The hell with this game. We'll go to the next one.
Yeah, exactly. So it's definitely and the fans see it more like that than the players. Obviously, the players should obviously need to take it a little more seriously, but that atmosphere is just a little bit different. And so I can see Nashville. I maybe even look at Nashville first period money line. That may be something I would circle as well. But I like the over 5.5. I'm gonna make that official as my play with this game.
All right, liking the over here, 5.5, Nashville and Toronto. We got our guy Jimmy Murphy now joining the show. Welcome in, Jimmy. We've gone through the first 2 games. What do you think? We've gone through Montreal Rangers, Nashville, Toronto. What do you like in those 2 games?
Well, guys, I'll start off with Montreal Rangers. You just look at this game. I mean, everything points towards the Rangers there, but how much value you truly getting going with them. I'm tempted at that puck line there, but something tells me we get a scrappy game from Montreal today. I don't know if they win, but I'm going to lean towards the Rangers, and I'm going to take the Rangers in regulation. I don't know if they're going to cover that puck line. I think this game could be a lot closer than people think. One of these games where it makes no sense. So you look at it on paper, it makes a lot of sense that the Canadiens will get blown out of the building. But sometimes those are the ones that end up being a lot closer than we think. So that's just a hunch I have. I'm going to take the Rangers in regulation.
All right, Rangers in regulation, by the way, you can get that around -120. And any thoughts, Jimmy, on Preds Leafs?
Preds Leafs, guys. I mean, I give the Predators a lot of credit. I mean, this is a team I didn't think had any business of playing for for playoff spot last year, let alone doing it again this year. But here they are; they're doing it. But this is another one where I just look at it. Toronto is the better team right now. I think that they need to get this game at home right now, and that's why I'll do another reg here. Give me Toronto in regulation.
All right, Toronto in regulation, which is at -125. So close to the same price range as that New York Rangers in regulation bet. All right, next up, we've got the New York Islanders and Florida Panthers. Florida -165, home favorites, 5.5 the total in this game. It's just, for me, I'm on Florida in you just talked about in regulation. Two in regulation bets. This is my in regulation bet. Florida here, -115 in regulate. I just don't see the Islanders. They've run out of steam, I think. I really believe that. This has been a long, grueling, that Beatles song? The long and winding road that leads. That's the New York Islanders right now. They're singing the long and winding road right now for the just brutal gauntlet that they've gone through here in the first month of the season. I mean, every single road game, double-digit number of road games now to begin the season before that first home game finally takes place this Saturday against Calgary in the brand new arena. And it looked like they were stuck in mud at times last night against Tampa Bay. The Lightning had played a really good game, and the Islanders just could not keep up with it in that one. And now they're playing a back-to-back spot with all this travel already still. And now they're just, you can't help but think that this team's got one eye looking towards Saturday night and getting back home, getting back around family and friends again, getting ready to open up the brand new building. It's the very same thing I thought with Seattle toward the end of their road trip when they struggled. They were just tired, they're jet lagged, they were just not able to win. You can't win puck battles in a speedy in a game like hockey when you don't have your legs under you. And for the last few games, it's looked like that for the New York Islanders. They just haven't had the legs to win puck races, foot race situations for loose pucks. And that's been an issue because they were losing those battles in a lot of different areas last night in the loss to the New York Islanders. And I'm just seeing them stand around, not checking people in front of the net on a couple of those Tampa goals. And you got to believe fatigue is playing a part in that for the New York Islanders. So this is a difficult spot. And I know Florida's come back down to earth a little bit the last few games. There's no doubt. They've cooled off just a touch. And Andrew Brunette, I think, is still trying to get, comfortable coaching this team in terms of being the head coach. And I think the players probably still trying to get comfortable with the change, of course, and Coach Q resigning. And they've lost 4 straight. And it's been a struggle. But the last 2, they were winnable games. Pittsburgh in a shootout, Tampa in overtime. Florida was right there in those games. This is probably their spot to finally get back in the win column against just an absolutely dog-tired Islanders team that's excited to get home after this game. So I'm going to go with Florida in regulation here, -115. Alex, your thoughts here, Islanders, Panthers?
Yeah, I was joking in the chat. I said we have to be careful singing Beatles songs because we do not have the money to clear that. With that being said,
the problem is I don't sound anything like John Lennon or Paul McCartney or any of those guys.
That's true, right?
Standpoint, so I don't think we have to worry about that.
You got a new special out too, right? Isn't there a documentary that just came out on Netflix or something?
It is Disney Plus, I believe.
Yeah, Disney Plus. Okay.
Beatles, yeah.
Yeah, but with this game, like you mentioned, with the Islanders, and I mentioned this at the beginning of the year when we did the preview. The Eastern Conference. This is the week to circle for the Islanders because this is the last of this road trip. They're going to be dead dog tired. Now they go home, like you said, after this and have back-to-back games to open up the building against Calgary and then turn around and play the Maple Leafs. So definitely, this is the mother of all sandwich spots, pretty much in the schedule for any team in the league this year. I'm going to go with the Florida team total. 3.5 over +120. This feels like it could be a game that, like I said, just completely gets away from the Islanders, especially if Florida can get off to a hot start. They haven't been getting off to super fast starts because they've been, playing good balanced hockey. They've been a bit more responsible. They're not just up and down the ice at all times. But if they see the Islanders are tired, they smell blood in the water, I think they might go after it. So plus $1.20, I'll go with the team total over with Florida.
All right, there you go. Florida team total over 3.5 +120 for Alex. Jimmy, how about you? Islanders, Panthers.
Yeah, I'll jump on that one too. I like jumping piggyback some of his team totals. He always does well with them. And Alex, by the way, welcome back, my friend. Good to have you.
Thank you.
I'm going to jump on that as well, and I'm going to pull out the Jimmy Puck line for this. I think this is just a great spot for Florida Panthers. So give me the first Jimmy Puck line of the day here. And I'll tell you right now, that Jimmy Puck line might come out for the Islanders on Saturday as well, because that's going to be a Stanley Cup atmosphere in that place. And as long as they don't get overcome by the emotions of the beginning of that game, the introductions and everything, I think they're just going to go nuts and play probably the best game of the season so far.
Yeah, it definitely. The Islanders, certainly that's going to be, as much as we were betting against the Islanders tonight, that'll probably be a bet on spot for them Saturday against Calgary. And I think for Calgary, it's the end of a road trip for them by the time we get to Saturday, because they're on the road right now. They played Ottawa, Montreal, Toronto. They're in Philly tonight. They're going to be playing the Islanders. So that's going to be toward a tail end of a pretty long road trip for the Flames. So just as equal a bet against spot, maybe based on the schedule for Calgary Saturday, as it will be a bet on spot for the New York Islanders. So we'll keep an eye on that. But that's Saturday. We got to get through tonight. And our next game tonight, Buffalo and Pittsburgh. We've got Pittsburgh minus 240, home favorite, 6 the total in this one. I mentioned this on yesterday's show. That's twice now Pittsburgh has laid an egg when Sidney Crosby and some key players have come back in the first game. They lost to New Jersey a few weeks ago. We were all excited. Sidney Crosby was coming back in that game. They lost to New Jersey at home. Same thing Sunday against Washington. Oh, we're all excited. Here comes Sid to save the day. He doesn't say, I'm in a singing mood today, obviously. But Sidney Crosby comes back Sunday against Washington, and they lose again. So, and I said yesterday on the show, and I believe it, players, it's a human game. It's played by humans, not robots or computers. When a key player comes back, especially if it's your best player, you slough off a little bit. You say, okay, we're going to just, let Sid do what he needs to do. We'll just hang back. We don't have to quite do the things that we've had to do and pick up the slack from a team performance standpoint without him. And now he's back. We can just, sit back and relax a little bit. Doesn't always work that way. And that's sometimes when you can get into trouble, and I think the Pittsburgh Penguins kind of got into trouble with that regard in that game against Washington. So they'll be looking to bounce back. They probably do win this hockey game. I mean, and now it's a second game back for Crosby, so should be more comfortable. There's no question about that. And really, from a health standpoint now for Pittsburgh going into this game, this is about as healthy as they've been in a very long time. So that's the good news for the Penguins. They have been dealing with injuries, with COVID-19 issues throughout much of the season so far. And they enter tonight with just Evgeny Malkin, the only regular still out for the Penguins. So they've got Dumoulin back. They've got Letang, Pettersson, Marino, Matheson, Ruedel. I mean, they've got the 6 defensemen they want on the blue line back for them now. And on the other side, of course, with Crosby back and, you've got Gensel missed some time. Of course, he's there now. You're only missing Evgeny Malkin. So this is about as healthy a lineup as the Penguins have had in some time. Am I going to lay minus 240 with them? No, but I do think they win this game here tonight against a Buffalo team that we know is starting to peter out a little bit. We know they did beat Edmonton. Very impressive win Friday night, 3-2, but they faced our old friend Stuart Skinner in net that night. And I kind of mentioned he's a bit of a bet against goalie. Remember, Detroit beat Edmonton last week with Stuart Skinner in net. Buffalo did the same. They lost to Toronto right after that. Buffalo's still kind of trending downward, 1-6 in their last 7 games. Now a Pittsburgh team that's lost 2 in a row, probably in a bad mood after losing to Ottawa and Washington by a combined score of 12-4. They got beaten by the Capitals and the Senators in back-to-back games over the weekend. Keep in mind, that was an Ottawa depleted team by COVID that beat Pittsburgh on Saturday night. So I don't think Pittsburgh's going to screw around with this Buffalo team and take them for granted. So Pittsburgh should win the game. I would lean over the total here personally because Buffalo is trending that way for sure. They've gone over the total 5 of their last 6, and even the Penguins have gone over in 2 straight games. And this Buffalo defense is now letting in goals, which is what I thought coming into the year. So I would probably look at over 6 here in this game if I were to bet anything. Alex, what are your thoughts here? Sabres and Penguins.
Yeah, I'm going to look at the over here, but I'm not playing over 6 right now. I'm going to be doing this in game. I can get a better price. I probably could get a 5.5 early. This definitely looks like one of those games where, especially if we're seeing the pace of play, could be a great live opportunities for next to score props, looking for teams, when they go on the power play. this line is just crazy because obviously everyone is thinking the same line of, okay, here comes Buffalo. They're falling apart like we expected them to do so. And this money's just coming in pouring on Pittsburgh, and everybody's betting on Pittsburgh because they've had such a great, start to the season, missing Sidney Crosby, missing Brian Rust, missing Evgeny Malkin. It's still not worth laying 230, 240, even with in regulation, this price has gotten out of hand. So can't take a side here. I would lean with the total, but this is definitely a in-game type of game because let's say Pittsburgh lays an egg early and Buffalo does get out to a 1-0 lead, then they tighten things down. Now you're stuck with a 6. So I say this is a read and react game all the way. Don't do anything with a side or a total beforehand.
I want to just quickly pivot because I want to get this in. I forgot to mention it with the Islanders-Panthers game in terms of props. Sam Bennett, someone mentioned it in the chat, plus 300 to score a goal. He scored one in his first game back a few games ago, hasn't scored since. But look at the numbers from Bennett. 4 shots on goal against Tampa, 3 against Pittsburgh, 4 against New Jersey. He's getting the chances, he's getting the shots, and I love the shots on goal prop. It's 2.5. I'm telling you, odds makers do pay zero attention to props, none at all. The fact that this number for Sam Bennett shots on goal tonight is 2.5 and it's only minus 130 is insane to me because this guy's been getting 3-4 shots on goal routinely, especially since he's come back from that recent injury. You look at it, 3 games since the injury, or since he's come back from the injury, New Jersey, Pitt, and Tampa, he's had 3 shots on goal or more in all 3 games, and that's all he needs to cash that shots on goal prop. So definitely looking at that for Sam Bennett tonight. This could be a good night because I think the Islanders, with so much fatigue, shots on goal props and goal score props for a few Panthers might be a good look, but none more for me than Sam Bennett tonight in that game. Jimmy, your thoughts on Buffalo-Pittsburgh?
Yeah, I'm looking at the first period over and the over in this. I think we're going to see some goals in this one, guys. Like you mentioned, Buffalo's starting to show that sloppy team defense that has been their downfall for so long. And the goaltending's not that great. And then Pittsburgh can open it up a lot. I think that the fact we saw them in that game, you mentioned they didn't look as great as they did without Crosby, with Crosby in the lineup. And I think that's because they didn't pay as much attention to detail or to tightening it up and to just suffocating through the neutral zone. And that was what was winning games for them when their star player was out. I still think they're a little loose there. So I like some goals in this one. Give me 2 overs there. 1 in the first period, 1 in the total.
All right, there we go. First period and full game over. A little double dip for Jimmy Murphy over the total with the Sabres and the Penguins. All right, Calgary and Philadelphia. We've got the Flames minus 115 to minus 120. Road favorites, 5.5 the total in this game. Calgary playing great on the road this year, 6-3. They did drop the first 2 games of this lengthy road trip in Toronto and in Montreal, but they bounced back on Sunday and shut out a absolutely ravaged Ottawa Senators team 4-0. And we talked about it on the show yesterday that it was about time the NHL shut down Ottawa for a period of time. I mean, they can't compete. They can't put a competitive roster on the ice right now with all the COVID-19 issues they're dealing with. So it was the right move there. And obviously Calgary took advantage of that on Sunday. We'll see if they can keep it rolling here. That snapped a 3-game losing streak for the Calgary Flames. On the other side, you've got the Philadelphia Flyers. The one thing that's interesting about Philly, they've alternated wins and losses dating back to October 28th against Vancouver. They won 2-1, lost the next game to this Calgary team 4-0. And I remember that game. I thought Calgary was going to be in a bet against spot there. First home game off that long road trip against the Flyers. And it couldn't have been any more wrong than that because they dominated Philadelphia in that game. That was one of the worst games you'll see out of Philadelphia this year, and they got shut out by Calgary 4-0. So they lost that game. They bounced back. They shut out Arizona at home 3-0. They lost the next game to Pittsburgh 3-2 in overtime. They followed that up with a win against Washington. After that, they lost to Toronto at home 3-0. They followed that up, shocking Carolina 2-1 on Friday night. And I like the Flyers in that game, believe it or not. I said this is a little bit of a tricky spot here for Carolina, and Flyers took advantage. And then the next night they lose to Dallas 5-2. That was the game where after Dallas had that players only meeting, Rick Bowness saying, calm down, everybody. We know what the problem is. We're going to fix it. He said it like a bunch of times after the loss Dallas had before that Philly game. So it's been just an up and down team. Win one, lose one, win one, lose one. Well, if you follow that pattern, tonight's the night to win one for the Philadelphia Flyers, but I don't know if I want to back them here against this Calgary team that's played their best on the road. It's a lukewarm lean for Calgary to me for Calgary minus 115 in this game, and I would lean under slightly, but I do like Mangiapane to score a goal. I cashed with that on Sunday against Ottawa, and 9 of his 10 goals, guys, have been scored on the road this year for the Calgary Flames. So, and this guy is not getting priced with Gaudreau and Monahan. Like Gaudreau's plus 220, Mangiapane's plus 250. That's just wrong because Gaudreau doesn't bring it every night offensively. And I'm getting Mangiapane. It seems like he's getting at least the chances, if not lighting the lamp on most nights. So plus 250 for Andrew Mangiapane, anytime goal scorer for Calgary. I like that one in this game tonight. Alex, what do you think here? Flames, Flyers.
Yeah, it's another clear case what you mentioned of where the bookmakers just aren't paying attention to those props and they look at the big names. They're always going to, it doesn't matter. Mangiapane's been in the top 5 in goal scoring all year. But then just whatever names that the NHL network seems to throw out is what the bookmakers kind of attach to, and everybody else just gets shuffled in the deck. So that's definitely a good spot worth looking at. I'm going to pass here on the side in total. If anything, I would possibly look at the first period under 1.5 with these two teams. You've got Calgary 3-7 to the first period under, Philly 2-8. We always talk about how Carter Hart plays better at home than on the road. And like I said, this was a fairly, for the most part, end up being kind of a runaway late in that game, but when they first met in Calgary, but that was a pretty tightly contested game for the first 25, 30 minutes of it. So I can see the first period under. That would probably be the lean I'd have here. I don't play that often, but only laying $1.10. That seems to be a fair shake, especially since Philly, with the way that they got blown out in that last game, they want to be a bit more responsible defensively, at least starting early in this game.
Yeah, I would think this is, you're going to probably, I think, in net, see Jacob Markstrom for Calgary, and Carter Hart's already confirmed for Philadelphia. So pretty good goaltending matchup. Hart's played better lately, actually. We'll give him some credit there for sure. Ryan Ellis, what a tough break. They just got the guy back, and he's injured again for the Philadelphia Flyers. And I worry about that. This is now multiple years where Ryan Ellis just hasn't been able to stay healthy, and you wonder if he's ever going to have a season again where he's just going to be able to play 82 games and have injury scot-free of injuries. It's becoming a concern now. There's a guy that's in his 30s. He's had a lot of years in the league, and right now he's just in a situation where he can't stay healthy, can't stay on the ice really for more than a few games, and got to be concerned and frustrated if you're the Flyers, because that was one of your big acquisitions to bolster the blue line in the offseason. Just hasn't been able to stay on the ice for you. Jimmy, what do you think here, Flames and Flyers?
Yeah, that's a great point by you, Ian. I mean, that is a huge loss, and you're right. It's a trend now in his career, and it's not too promising. The skills there. I think you look at, if he hadn't been hurt so much over the course of his career, how much better his stats would be. But it is what it is. As far as this game goes right now, you know what, guys? It's funny if you'll hear me say that them beating Ottawa, the Calgary Flames, that is, the other day, impressed me a lot, because I felt like that was an easy game for them to look past everything that was going on with Ottawa and everything. And yet they nailed it down. And one thing I like about the coaching, the team defense right now is just the way they're going out there and they're attacking, and they're fearless out there. And that's why I don't see them having any problem with this Philly team tonight. Philly's an enigma to me. They're one of my teams that I thought was going to be a team on the rise this year, and I picked them to make the playoffs, but I'm really not sure right now. I mean, I know it's not even Thanksgiving yet here in the States, but they're definitely a huge question mark to me. And for that reason, I'm just going to go straight out on the money line here with the Calgary Flames.
All right, Calgary money line, which is minus 115 in this one for Jimmy against the struggling Philadelphia Flyers. The only thing that I agree. I think Calgary's the side I got to look at here in this game. The only concern would be the Philly back and forth. They gone win-loss, win-loss. They lost their last game. Do they bounce back tonight? The recent pattern says yes, but Calgary, I think, has been played well on the road. And you know why they didn't look past Ottawa, Jimmy? It's because they lost to Montreal and Toronto, the first 2 games of that road trip. And I think they said, hey, we don't want to lose a third in a row to a team with half their starting group out of the lineup. And they definitely took care of business. It was a business-like win for Calgary on Sunday. All right, Edmonton and Winnipeg next up. We've got even money on both sides here, 6 the total in this game. I do like over here. I mean, for this Edmonton team, even in the games that stay under, like I've watched almost every Oiler game this year, and why not? They're a fun and exciting team to watch. The games that stay under, and there haven't been a ton, of Oilers games that have stayed under, it's almost like it's by accident. It's almost like if you have an under in an Oilers game right now, and even if it does stay under, you're like biting your fingernails and you're like, there's goalposts and there's near misses and great quality, grade A chances that just go by the wayside. That's what it's taking to keep some of these Oilers games under the total right now. It's not been, other than the one game that cruised under, which was way back on October 30th against Vancouver, 2-1. You look at the other unders. I mean, the Buffalo Edmonton under on Friday night, 3-2. That should have went over. There was a ton of great chances. Tokarski was actually very good in net for Buffalo that night. And then the other one was that 4-2 game against Detroit, where the Oilers were kind of flat in that one. And if you got the 6.5, it just barely stayed under. So it's a team right now, Edmonton, where their offense is working. They've been able to score goals almost against everybody. You look at these results offensively since the start of the month, November 1st, we have seen the Edmonton Oilers score 5 goals or more in 5 of their 7 games since the beginning of the month. 5 of their 7 games since the month of November began, they have scored 5 goals or more. So this team is just feeling it offensively. Their power play has been the best in the league. There's nothing more to be said than that. Winnipeg's penalty kill has actually been decent. They've gone the last 5 games, just 1 power play goal allowed. So maybe Winnipeg's PK can hold them in check here. We'll have to wait and see. The Jets are coming off a 3-2 overtime win against LA. They beat San Jose 4-1 before that. They've actually gone under in 4 straight. So it's not a slam dunk for me that this game goes over the total, but we're still going to ride it with what we've seen here in terms of the over. The over is 9-3 in the last 12 games in Winnipeg between the Oilers and the Jets as well. So that's what I'm going to look at here over the total. As far as the side goes, Edmonton has lost a couple lately, and I prefer Edmonton off a loss than betting Edmonton off a win. And that's why I took them against St. Louis on Sunday. Remember, they lost to Detroit or Buffalo on Friday night. They bounced back, beat St. Louis, just like they did against Detroit, where they lost. They bounced back. They beat Boston 5-3 the very next game. So they're a good team off a loss. Now they're off a win. They're even money. The Jets have been very good at home this year. I don't think it's a slam dunk either, though Edmonton goes in there and wins tonight. I think it's a close game either way. So I'm going to stay away from the side, but I am going to get involved with over 6 in this game, Oilers and Jets. Alex, what do you think here, Oilers, Jets?
Yeah, I jumped all over this first period over. I got it at minus $1.40, which is right at the threshold of where I like to play it. So now you're seeing $1.45, $1.50. What I recommend, obviously, is to wait a few seconds, a few minutes in game and get that adjusted, around $1.35 or better. This should be a game, and you got to, like that, say seconds, because you got to be quick. I think we're going to see a lot of goals here, and it may only be you may not even get that first timeout, TV timeout chance before we see a goal here because of how Winnipeg at home, they're just an over team at home. Even against a team like LA, where they try to kind of be a bit more slow and plotting and methodical offensively. Before you could blink, it was 1-1 in that contest. So they've just been an over machine at home, and of course Edmonton, whenever they have bad games, they're not going to rely on the defense. They're going to try to get the offense wrapped up. It's McDavid and Draisaitl company. They want to get as many goals as they possibly can. So I think we're going to see that happen. I like the full game over as well, but I say wait a few minutes. It was as little, as much time as you can, but until you start seeing those two teams buzzing around, but try to get that first period over at a better adjusted number. If you can't, then just, hit play for minus $1.40, $1.45, but the first period over should cash in there.
Yeah, Edmonton, Winnipeg over 1.5, minus 140 right now in the first period. But again, if you want to take Alex's advice, wait a minute or two into the first period. You'll definitely see a price drop in that first period over. And sometimes it's beneficial to do that. You always run the risk, of course, of that goal in the first minute or first 2 minutes. But sometimes it's worth it to take that risk in order to get the better price. What do you think here, Jimmy, with Edmonton, Winnipeg?
Well, guys, I think this game has been one that's been circled on the calendar for the Edmonton Oilers for a while now. Let's not forget who knocked them out of the playoffs. Not just knocked them out, swept them out, embarrassed them. I think this has been a game that they said, no matter what, no matter where we are in the season, we are going into that building and we're getting some payback. So I'm going to take it with the reverse puck line here for the Edmonton Oilers, minus 1.5. I think they go in and take care of business over the Winnipeg Jets.
That's an excellent point. the revenge motive. Actually, you're right. The playoffs last year, I'd almost forgotten about that, but you're right. Decisive 4-game sweep. Although I shouldn't say decisive. 3 of the games went to overtime, if
That's
I'm
right.
not mistaken, in that
Yep.
series. And it's just every overtime goal went Winnipeg's way in that series. And sure enough, a heartbreak for the Edmonton Oilers, because they could have won a bunch of those games. And you're right, this is the first regular season meeting this year between these teams. First game head-to-head since that playoff series. So, yeah, I could see Edmonton definitely being up for this one. And I can definitely see that case for the Oilers here in this one. All right, San Jose and Minnesota. We've got Minnesota minus 180, home favorites here, 5.5 the total in this game. Some 6s out there as well, but mostly 5.5s across the board in this one. The Minnesota Wild, 4-1 at home this year, 10-4 overall. They ended their recent road trip winning 2 of the 3 games on it. They beat Arizona. They beat Seattle. So they beat the expansion team, Seattle, and they beat the team playing like an expansion team, Arizona, on that road trip there the past 3 games. And they lost to Vegas 3-2 in between. And now they return home to the XL Energy Center here, where they've played some pretty good hockey this year. And offensively at home, I mean, we've talked about this a lot with Minnesota this year, the home overs with them. It's just been wash, rinse, repeat for Minnesota. Over the total at home, 5-0 to the over this year, Minnesota at XL Energy Center. And that's what we're looking at going into this game tonight against the San Jose Sharks. You look at the last 2 home games against the Islanders and the Senators, they scored 5 in each of those games. That's going to get you most of your total right there going if that comes to fruition again tonight. All you need is just a couple from San Jose. And I think you can get a couple from San Jose. This team offensively, the last few games, we've seen them put up 3 against St. Louis, 4 against Calgary, a couple of games where they've been able to light the lamp a little bit. They've scored 2 against Colorado the last game. I think that's what's going to end up happening. James Reimer's going to be in net here for the Sharks tonight. He's played pretty solid this year. He's, I think, been a little bit more sturdy than Adin Hill, and actually his numbers are quite good. But will he keep it up here against a Minnesota team that just finds their way to scoring goals here on home ice? I'm not so sure about that. Like, Reimer's been a very competent and capable goalie, and on his best night, he can be excellent. But I don't know if those kind of numbers, like James Reimer's not going to be 1.82 goals against, 940 save percentage goalie the rest of the year. I'm willing to bet dollars to donuts that is not going to be the case for James Reimer the rest of the season, not by any stretch of the imagination. And with Minnesota's propensity to really play with greater pace, be more aggressive offensively, really push the attack a lot more at home, and the fact they've trended over 5-0 to the over at home, not to mention the series history as well, 6-1. The last 7 meetings between these two teams have gone to the over between the Sharks and the Wild. So for me, it's San Jose, Minnesota, over 5.5, minus 120 in this game. Alex, Sharks, Wild.
Yeah, like you said, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. 5-0 with the Wild to the over at home. They, obviously played more of the tempo and pace. They're more comfortable at home. That fan base is rocking and rolling right now. And like you said, with the Sharks, I mean, yeah, James Reimer, we're not going to see him stand on his head all season. Yes, he's been more stable than Adin Hill, but any of the 3 of us could be in net and be more stable than Adin Hill the way he's played so far this season. So that's not saying a whole lot. But Reimer's been good, but he will give up some goals. And even Cam Talbot has given up some soft goals at times too, even though they've been able to fight back and get some wins. But looking at that game against Vegas and even the game they played with Arizona got a couple of goals. Those are some pretty softies, and so 5.5, and you're only laying $1.15 or $1.20. I jumped all over this yesterday. This is probably one of my favorite plays on this whole card, so I'm going with the over.
All right, Alex, like an over 5.5 here as well. San Jose, Minnesota. Jimmy, Sharks and Wild.
Keep me on the over train as well.
There you go. Make it a clean sweep here. Over 5.5, San Jose and Minnesota as well for Jimmy Murphy in this one. Just in terms of, I just wanted to bring it up for the Minnesota Wild, some goal scorer props that are worth a look. There's a bunch that this is one of those teams that they're getting goals from different sources. It's not always Kaprizov every night. It's always some different players. You've seen Fiala step up. You've seen Joel Eriksson-Ek be able to step up, score some goals. Ryan Hartman has certainly done that this year for the Minnesota Wild. That's the guy I would target right now. Ryan Hartman's got three goals in his last 5 games. He had 3 points without a goal against Seattle, but they were all assists. But this guy is factoring in to the scoring, and he's factoring into the offense nightly for the Minnesota Wild right now. And you don't get the plus 140 with Hartman that you do with Kaprizov, or plus 190 with Eriksson Ek. You can get Ryan Hartman down the board at like the plus 325 to plus 350 range to score a goal. That's the bargain bin that I like to go with when I look at my goal scorer props. Ryan Hartman not being priced like the offensive producer in terms of goal scoring. Again, we're talking about a guy that has 3 goals in his last 5 games for the Minnesota Wild, and you can get him plus 325 to score a goal in this game. So there's another one for you in terms of bargain bin shopping, if you will, from a goal scorer prop standpoint. Very good value, in my opinion, here on Ryan Hartman tonight. All right, before we get to our next game, we want to talk about DraftKings Sportsbook, the official sports betting partner of the NHL. An unbelievable offer to celebrate the greatest sport on ice. New customers can bet just $1 on any NHL game and win $100 in free bets if either team scores a goal. It doesn't matter if it's a one-timer, a deflection, a breakaway. However they light the lamp, you win. If DraftKings Sportsbook isn't available in your state yet, don't worry. You can play for huge cash prizes all season long with DraftKings daily fantasy sports contests. DraftKings is giving all new customers a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes with their first deposit. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use promo code THPN. Throw down $1 on any NHL game and win $100 in free bets if either team scores a goal. This week, one puck in the net nets you a big win with promo code THPN at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL. Must be 21 years of age or older. Must reside in a DraftKings Sportsbook state. New customers only. Minimum $5 deposit and $1 wager required. One per customer. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Sign up for an account and use the promo code THPN. All right, let's move on now to our next game, Arizona and St. Louis. We've got St. Louis minus 300 to minus 320, home favorites, 5.5 the total in this one. This is a tricky game. This is the one I don't have a strong take on either way, side or total. These Arizona games, you can usually count on the opponent to find the back of the net and score some goals against them, but you can't always count on Arizona to do that. And when you look at this Coyotes team, other than the win they had against Seattle, I still can't believe they actually had a game where they scored 5 goals, but they did in that game against Seattle, their only victory this year. Since then, they've scored 4 goals in the last 3 games combined. And look, Chicago's playing better defensively since Derek King took over, but still, I mean, you're only scoring 1 goal against them. That's the problem. You got a problem offensively when that's happening, and that's been the issue for Arizona all season long. I mean, 4 goals in the last 3 games. You look at on the road what they've done. I mean, 1 goal against Anaheim on the road, 0 shutout at Philly on the road, 1 goal against Carolina on the road, shutout at Washington on the road, 1 goal at Tampa Bay on the road. I mean, they are just not finding much offense right now. So it's one of those games. St. Louis probably wins it. It's just a question of, do they win it 3-1, 4-1, or 5-1? I could see that kind of score. So it could stay under. It could stay over. I'm just going to stay off the game. Alex, Arizona, St. Louis.
So I'm on the first period over. I played it personally, but then I kind of recommended to everyone to wait and see what happens with this, because the thing with Arizona is that, yeah, they're giving up goals in bunches, but they haven't been giving up goals early. They've been giving up those goals late in the game. So I'm waiting for them to just have the complete meltdown. I don't think it's hard to say if things are going to get worse, but the one thing that could get worse would be for them to start giving up goals early in the first period. So I'm hoping they do that here against St. Louis. So maybe wait and get, even though you're not laying much, you're only looking at what, $1.25 is what I got. So I actually got $1.20, mind you. I'm seeing $1.15, so it's not so much price; it's more of watching for pace of play. So you might actually end up getting a plus price if you wait here. Normally, I tell you, like, with the Winnipeg Edmonton game, just wait to get a better price adjusted. But here, it's just, if you see the pace of play where it looks like it's going to go over, then hell, you waiting $1.15 when it can easily turn into plus 105, plus 110, even better. So this is definitely a wait and see with the first period. That's the only thing you can play here, because you can't look at the sides with St. Louis as high as they are. And I said nothing worth backing with Arizona right now.
Yeah, this might be a Jordan Kyrou game. Cheshire Cat. Well, good luck there. Good thought. in the chat mentioning Jordan Kyrou, because this guy had a highlight reel goal in the desert when they played in Arizona earlier this year. It was just a spectacular goal. He made the Coyotes blue liners look like a bunch of fools back there, specifically Shane Gostisbehere, who always looks foolish in his own zone trying to defend somebody. But nevertheless, I mean, it was just a pretty goal by Jordan Kyrou. So I don't mind that. That might be something to look at here going into this game. Kyrou for the Blues in terms of points or goal scorer props. Jimmy, what do you think here, Coyotes and Blues?
Yeah, I mean, these games with the Coyotes, it's just so tough. You can't really find much value in them, and I just don't have a feeling on this one. So it's a Jimmy pass for me.
1-14. I'll tell you what, it's been a long time since the team is like we've seen some 1-14 slides, like Buffalo. Last year had that going for a while. The incredible double-digit losing streak, but to start the season, a team being 1-14, haven't seen that for a very long time. It's been a very bad start to the year for, let's be honest, a terrible roster. It really is, this Arizona team. All right, next up, we've got Detroit and Dallas. Dallas minus 180, home favorites, 5.5 the total, shaded to the under in this game. Dallas had the players-only meeting. Bonus telling everybody, calm down. We know what our problem is. We're going to fix it. Well, they fixed it for one night, because they responded with a win against Philadelphia Saturday night at home. It was one of their best games of the year for sure. I don't think they've had many best games of the year, Dallas, so far, but that was definitely one of their better ones. 5-2 victory over the Philadelphia Flyers. We saw Seguin score a goal finally for them. They need a lot more offense from him moving forward. Maybe that gets him going. If you believe in a goal to maybe take the monkey off your back, maybe get you going a little bit. Maybe you look at a Seguin prop tonight to score a goal, that a talented player can use that as, momentum and confidence going into this game. It's a tough spot for Detroit. They played last night against Columbus. This is also going to be their third game in 4 nights as well. They played home against Montreal on Saturday, in Columbus last night. Very difficult loss for Detroit. They were up 3-2 in that game. And then bang, Columbus strikes twice late in the third, and then they add an empty netter, and Detroit falls 5-3 last night to the Columbus Blue Jackets. So we'll see how this one goes. It is a back-to-back spot for Detroit. They're also 0-8 in the last 8 visits to Dallas. So they've had a tough time winning in Big D. Dallas might get a little momentum to propel them from finally getting that win following the players-only meeting on Saturday against the Flyers. So it's probably a game Dallas wins, but there's no way I'm interested in laying minus 180 with this Stars team. So this is another pass for me. Alex, Detroit, Dallas.
This is a game I'm looking at the draw. And I definitely see it. Jake Ottinger is getting the start here. We know he's a capable goalie. He's just been kind of lost in the shuffle of, they're trying to get Bishop back. He's still out. They're trying to get Holtby, into the mix and Khudobin. But we're seeing Ottinger getting his first, taste with the big club again. And I think he's going to want to, play solid. Like you said, Detroit hasn't fared well against Dallas, but this is a Dallas team. You can't trust them to put up another 5 goals like they did against Philly the other night. This feels like it could be a 2-2 or 3-3 kind of game. So I'm going to go with the regulation draw.
They also faced Martin Jones on Saturday night against Philadelphia, and clearly some of the luster came off him. He's in that game. He's had a nice start to the year, but kind of back to the old Martin Jones Saturday night in that loss for Philadelphia against Dallas. Now, Thomas Greiss was in net for Detroit, so it's not been confirmed who's in net tonight, but obviously you'd expect it to be Alex Nedeljkovic in net for the Detroit Red Wings tonight. And to be honest, he's had some ups and downs this year, but he started to play a little bit better. I thought he played a lot better in that Montreal win Saturday night. So maybe he's getting his game back. So this does feel like an under potentially. Ottinger, I think he's got some upside. He played well at times last year, and you can't say he's, much worse, if any bit worse than Khudobin and Holtby, the other 2 goalies that Dallas has, those old veterans. So get the young kid in there. Can he play well? We'll see. Nedeljkovic is starting to play better, so I could see it being under. And if it's low scoring, the draw could very well be live in this one. Jimmy, what do you think here, Detroit, Dallas?
I'm right with you there. Right when I even just looking at this game, it screams under to me. These are 2 teams that, scrap, and Dallas, we know, has its scoring woes, and they're not able to really cash in a lot. So I love the under in this game, guys.
You know what's funny about Dallas? They've actually gone over in 5 straight games, the Stars, but a lot of it is because they're giving up goals. Yeah.
In general, though, they're not a good scoring team.
Yeah. No, and most of those overs were because they gave up 4 to Winnipeg, 6 to Vancouver, 4 to Nashville.
Yeah.
The
I'm
other
looking
night
more
it
like
was.
what these teams can do offensively against each other tonight.
Yeah.
I don't see it, you know.
Yeah, I agree. I think this is the night where you could see an under for Dallas. It's just surprising. It's one of those stats you see it. Well, they've gone over
Yeah.
in 5 straight. Well, I wouldn't have expected that. You're
No.
right. There's no question. They wouldn't have expected that. No doubt about it. Although Saturday night they played a lot better defensively. And again, that game only went over because they scored 5 against Martin Jones. So this could be a little bit of a different story tonight. Washington, Anaheim. We've got Washington minus 130, road favorites, 6 the total in this one, shaded to the under. This is an interesting game here because you got the Capitals laying $1.30 on the road. And in normal situations or early in the season, this would have looked like a steal on Washington because nobody expected much of Anaheim this year. But we got to give the Ducks credit. They've won 7 in a row coming into this game. They've played some better than expected hockey. Now, if you want to quibble, the laundry list of opponents they've beaten in that 7-game win streak is nothing spectacular. Montreal, who's been struggling. Jersey without Jack Hughes at the end of a road trip. Arizona, who stinks. The one game was St. Louis was a pretty solid win. Vancouver's struggling. Seattle's an expansion team, and they've struggled lately. And then Vancouver again, who are struggling. So again, you could quibble about that 7-game win streak and say, you know what, Anaheim's not played or beaten anybody as good as the team they're going to play tonight. Washington, who have won 4 in a row now themselves, beating Buffalo, Detroit, Columbus, and Pittsburgh. The Pittsburgh game was very impressive since that's the night they got Crosby, Dumoulin, many of their key players back, and the Capitals put the boots to the Penguins in that game, 6-1. This is a game where, again, I'm going to say it again with Troy Terry. I mean, you just have to keep on going with him in terms of props at the moment. And I also said in the game against Vancouver, they're playing a team with no confidence defensively on Sunday night. They can't keep the puck out of their own net. I did say this was a good night for some player props for Terry, for Henrique, and for Zegras. And we ended up cashing with Zegras. He scored 2 goals in that game. He was at plus 275 he was to score a goal. I mentioned that on the Sunday show. Terry did not score a goal on Sunday against Vancouver, but he did collect a point in that game. And that's significant because Troy Terry for the Anaheim Ducks is now on a career-high point streak, which is now 14 games. And at DraftKings, see what I did there? We got to plug DraftKings. Troy Terry is minus 130 to collect a point tonight. I mean, that's a bet. That's a bet you got to make. At that price, minus 130, 14 straight with at least a point. And he's getting the minutes. He's getting the power play time for Anaheim right now. Dallas Aikens has him on the top power play unit, has him playing on the top line as well most nights for this team. Like they've got Troy Terry right now playing with Getzlaf and Henrique. You know, that's your top line. And those are the 3 guys that have really clicked offensively and really generated a lot for this team during this win streak. Now, going to be tougher against Washington because Washington doesn't give up as many shots. They've actually been solid defensively. The Vanacek-Samsonov pairing, they've played a little bit better. And even Fucale stepped in there last week against Detroit and got a shutout in his first NHL start. But, you know, they've played a little bit better defensively lately, and it won't be as easy for Anaheim to get goals tonight, but you got to ride it with Troy Terry at this point to score a goal. I'm back on that prop again, as well as to score a point, which is, again, minus 130 for him to get a point tonight at DraftKings. Alex, what do you think here? Washington, Anaheim.
Yeah, there isn't a more fraudulent win streak we've seen in the last couple of years in the NHL than this Anaheim 7-game win streak. And like I said, okay, yes, you can only beat the teams you play in front of you, but you're beating Vancouver twice. They've looked terrible. Seattle's been up and down. Montreal's been awful. We talk about how bad Arizona is. So you can't really write home this streak and say that, okay, here comes Anaheim, the kings of the Pacific Division right now. On the flip side, Washington, a team that I thought was actually going to be struggling all year. They've got 4 wins in a row, but not really against a whole lot of major competition either. Buffalo, talked about how they're falling off the face of the planet now. They got a 2-0 win against Detroit, 6-0 win against Pittsburgh, 4-3 against Columbus. So you can't look at these 2 streaks and say that they're all right. These are the 2 hottest teams. They're both in good form. These aren't the 2 hottest teams in the league right now, but they're both in decent form. And I'm going to go with Washington here. You can get them at regulation at plus $1.05. That's awfully cheap. Like you said, you're not going to find those kind of prices when Washington's playing well. And even if, like I said, for this, I just don't see this streak carrying on with Anaheim. This is the best team they've played in the last 8 games right now. So Give me Washington regulation plus $1.05.
All right. Yeah, by the way, I didn't mention what I liked side or total. Nothing. Not on the side or total. I don't like either side. I don't like the total in this game. I think it could go either way, over or under. I think it could go either way from a side perspective, but I am going to go in on the props there, specifically with Troy Terry, again, to score a point, to score a goal tonight in this game. By the way, there's a couple Capitals to keep an eye on, too. Obviously, Ovechkin, I'm never going to say to someone, you're a moron for betting Alex Ovechkin to score a goal. I mean, the only thing you can quibble about, it's not a bad bet. It's just you quibble about the prices you're going to get because, everybody knows the great start he's had. But take a look, if you're going to look at some Washington props tonight, I'll throw out a couple here for you. Daniel Sprong is a guy that gets 4 shots on goal in a lot of games lately, and he finally scored against Pittsburgh. He plays down the lineup a little bit, but it looks like for Washington tonight, he's going to be on the second line with Connor McMichael and Connor Sheary on that second line. Daniel Sprong, someone you consider maybe a little bit for a goal score prop. Connor Sheary scored in back-to-back games. You could look in that direction as well for the Capitals in terms of goal score props tonight. We saw Tom Wilson step up offensively as well of late. There are other options besides Ovechkin, and there are other players besides Ovechkin. I'm just trying to remind people of that on this Washington team. So just be aware of that for sure. And there's some options that are going to give you much better value in terms of goal scorer props than Ovechkin. And again, Wilson's one, Daniel Sprong is one, Connor Sheary has scored in back-to-back games. So keep an eye on some of those players and maybe a sprinkle for me on those for the Capitals tonight. Jimmy, what do you think here, Washington, Anaheim?
Yeah, I mean, I'm with Alex here too. Yeah, look, I'm not trying to disrespect Anaheim. Good on them for winning the games, but still, they haven't faced the stiffest of competition there, and they're going to face a Washington team that's coming into their own now, in my opinion, starting to play some better hockey, and I think knows that they need to make a little run right now. The Metro division that they're in right now is so crowded, so many good teams in the East, and I think the teams that know if they want to be there and be at the top, be the elite teams, they know that this is a time where they have to start to really get it together. And I think the Capitals are one of those teams. Give me the Washington Capitals on the puck line.
All right, Washington Capitals puck line for Jimmy Murphy in this one. You can get that right now at -1.5, plus 185. So plus 200 in some spots. So good value there with the puck line on the Capitals. All right, the final game of this massive Tuesday card, Carolina Hurricanes, Vegas Golden Knights. We've got Carolina -145, road favorites, 5.5 is the total, 6 in some other spots. And the price has gone up about 20 cents. We've seen money come in on Carolina. Obviously, people enticed to bet Carolina because, they're one of the best teams in the league right now. They've had a great season so far, 11-2. Vegas is still very much banged up. And just when it started to look like this team was getting healthier, Mark Stone came back, of course, over the weekend for the Vegas Golden Knights. But Marchessault now is back to the COVID-19 list, and he'll be out for a period of time. William Carrier has missed the last 2 games. He won't be back tonight. Alec Martinez, the defenseman, is now going to miss again tonight with the facial laceration that he's dealing with. Carlson's still out. Patrick Whitecloud, Pacioretty. So again, they're still a depleted team. However, if you're betting Carolina now, you're getting the worst of the price. And I am done selling this Vegas team short. I've said, you know what? There's all these injuries. They're going to struggle. They're going to have a tough time winning games. Well, they're 8-2 in their last 10. They've won 3 in a row. They've found ways to win. One of those wins was a quality one. You could quibble that, hey, they beat Vancouver. They're struggling. They beat Seattle as well. They beat Ottawa, Montreal during this streak. Yeah, you could say that. Not a lot of quality wins, but the one quality win was Minnesota. 3-2 at home when they were missing all those guys, and Stone was still out that night against Minnesota. So keep that in mind. This is a Vegas team right now that has found ways to win, even with this, depleted lineup. They've had multiple guys out. They have still found ways to be competitive and get victories. So, and I think with Carolina coming into into T-Mobile Arena tonight, you're going to get Vegas really wanting to prove a point here. It's like a measuring stick, if you will, when you got a team playing as well as Carolina. So, initially I think I would have leaned Carolina, maybe even bet them when they were -115, -120, 25, but -145 now, not so much. And I love Carolina. I've been backing them a lot this year. Just don't know if I want to back them in this price range because there are a couple times, I've gone against Vegas and paid the price thinking, oh, they're missing this guy, this guy, this guy, this guy, and they find a way to win. So, and their work ethic's been off the charts, even with all these injuries. So this should be a good game. What I do like in this game is the over. 5.5 here. I mean, it's a reasonable price here. With that, Vegas has scored. They've really lit the lamp since returning home. They've scored 14 goals in the last 3 games since this homestand began. We know Carolina's usually good for offense. We know they're capable of scoring 3+ any given night. The over's 4-1 in the last 5 meetings between these two teams. So I like that more than either side. Carolina, Vegas, over 5.5, -125. Alex, your thoughts here? Canes, Golden Knights.
Yeah, I think we're going to see some offense here, but I think we're going to see it early. I like the first period over. I got it -$1.20. Find it -$1.25. I still like that price. And you look at, obviously, okay, Vegas is one of the best teams as far as getting off to a fast start. Looking at some of the charts from our friend of the program, Chris Otto, he put up the first period numbers. Vegas 7-3 their last 10 in the first period over, 10 for 15 on the year, but also 12-3 with a goal in the first 10 minutes. That's also on a 7-3 run, which is the same for Carolina. Carolina haven't been getting exactly that second goal to cash those first period over. They've been getting goals early within the first 10 minutes. So this definitely feels like that it could be that kind of a spot here, especially Carolina, wanting to play well on the road. Like I said, Vegas now, kind of reverting back, having some issues, missing some more guys again. And Carolina is just a much more superior team. Vegas on a 3-game win streak, but once again, kind of like we talked about with Anaheim and some of the other teams, the teams they beat, weren't saying much. Minnesota's the best team that they beat there, but they caught them toward the end of a road trip. So this definitely feels like a spot where, if you wanted Carolina, the only thing you could probably play would be regulation. But I like the first period over here a bit more. Only getting laying a cheap price, like I said, between $1.20 and $1.25.
All right, good stuff. Liking the over in the first period here, Alex, with Carolina and Vegas. Jimmy, what do you like here, Carolina, Vegas?
Yeah, I like that first period over as well, but I also like Vegas in this. I don't know. I'm just got this feeling maybe the boys in Carolina went out and had a good time last night. Then again, we've seen other teams do quite well after that. But no, I don't know. I just got a good feeling about Vegas in this one. Give me the Vegas Golden Knights on the money line as well as the first period over.
All right, good stuff. And I'm just reading, Tyler Seguin has 5 points in the last 5 games. So it strengthened my case, I guess, if you will, for Seguin tonight in that Dallas-Detroit game. He's the one, maybe. Points, score a goal, that kind of thing. Definitely something to keep in mind for sure in that one. Pierre-Luc Dubois, I didn't mention him in the Edmonton-Winnipeg game. Goal score, props, shots, any points, anything like that. I'll be looking at some of those in that Edmonton-Winnipeg game. Now, he's played great. And kudos to him. Bounce back year for him with the Jets because it didn't go well for him after that trade between Columbus and Winnipeg. He struggled to go to fit in there a little bit. Definitely some issues, really getting comfortable. And then there's a bunch of Blues I'd look at. I already mentioned someone in our chat, it was Cheshire Cat, mentioned Kyrou. Tarasenko's on fire right now. He's feeling it. Buchnevich, who they got from the Rangers, O'Reilly, all of their big guns. They could strike tonight against Arizona. So maybe look at guys like that, too, for props night. It's a good prop night. Big board, a lot of games. I think we'll see goals in a few of these games. So it's a good night for props to me in the NHL tonight. Great stuff with Alex B. Smith and Jimmy Murphy. Really good to have Alex back on the show today. We'll wrap up this Tuesday edition of the show as we always do with Best Bets. Alex, what do you got for us for Tuesday for a Best Bet?
Well, I'm here in Chicago, but we'll head to my other home in St. Paul, Minnesota. We'll go with the Wild and the Sharks over 5.5 -$1.20. Wild, like I said, 5-0 to the over at home. Don't see the Sharks really putting up much of a defensive front here, so I like that over. So 5.5 over with Minnesota and San Jose is my best bet tonight.
There you go. 5.5 over 5.5 -120. San Jose, Minnesota. Best bet for Alex B. Smith. Jimmy, best bet.
I'm going with that revenge factor with the Oilers in Winnipeg. Give me that reverse puck line for a hell of a value on a best bet.
All right, there we go. Edmonton, Winnipeg, reverse puck line for Jimmy Murphy. The Oilers in revenge mode for that playoff series loss to the Jets last year. This is the first meeting since then, and he's going to go with Edmonton -1.5 at +225. In that one against the Winnipeg Jets for his best bet. And my best bet for this Tuesday card, I'm going to go with Florida in regulation here, -115. It's just for me, I think the Islanders are just going to, it's it's off to the home game. It's get back home. We're excited. Get this damn trip over with. We've been on the road forever. And to get Florida in a mood where Florida's going to play with that desperation and that urgency tonight. They've now lost 4 in a row. They don't like the way their game's trending. I liked a lot of their game against Tampa Bay on Saturday night, even though they lost that game in overtime. If not for Andrei Vasilevskiy in net, that's a different result for the Panthers. They probably would have snapped the losing streak Saturday night if Vasilevskiy didn't play so well. I think tonight's the night Florida gets back in the win column, takes advantage of just the end of a very long and brutal first month on the road for the Islanders. So Florida in regulation, minus 115. That'll be my best bet for this Tuesday card. And that'll wrap up this edition of the Ice Guys. Great to be with Alex and Jimmy today. A reminder, the Ice Guys is live 7 days a week, Monday to Friday, 2 p.m. Eastern, Saturday and Sunday, noon Eastern. If you can't watch the show live, download the Ice Guys podcast in audio form on all major podcast platforms, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, and iHeartRadio. Download the Ice Guys podcast when you can't watch the show live. For Alex B. Smith and Jimmy Murphy, I'm Ian Cameron. Have a great Tuesday night. Enjoy the games and good luck. And we will talk to you again tomorrow on Wednesday for another edition of the Ice Guys presented by the Hockey Podcast Network.